Well, I finally had my first entitled parent experience in the mall parking lot, by user suspicious_daffodil. I had my first encounter with an entitled mother today. Off to the mall for a pair of winter shoes so I don't slush my dang socks. Lucky me, a spot really close to the entrance is open. As I'm creeping up to the spot, there's a woman with a baby strapped to her chest and someone I assume is a sister/friend/whatever walking up the laneway. They looked like they were just going in the mall, but then they stood in the spot I was trying to pull into. Sensational. I waved, they ignored me. I tapped my horn and they waved me off saying that they're saving that spot for their friend. I pretty much told them that that isn't how a parking lot works, and that I'm not moving. Entitled mom then looks at me and starts going on about how she has a baby and that she should get to park closer to the mall because of her baby. I roll. I tell her I don't fucking care about her baby. Back and forth with her insisting that she won't move, and for some dumb reason starts going on about I dare you to hit me. Like, dude, I'm not insane, and you were just going on about your baby? Since she wouldn't move, I just laid on the horn until this big red truck, that had a guy they were with, started to come up behind me. Lo and behold, there was an open space literally only 2 spaces down that the red truck pulled into. Meanwhile the mom and the other woman she was with do walk out of the space, calling me every name in the book. Bitch, cunt, whore, how they can't believe I made a new mother move. Honestly, it felt like a YouTube rage bait video. I'm staying by my car because I genuinely don't trust crazy people not to do crazy things to my car. The guy who was driving their truck just looked down at his phone while the women told me off for endangering their baby as they all walked past to go inside. Honestly, I like to think he was embarrassed. What makes people think that 1. I care about your kids, and 2. that you can stand in parking spaces to claim dibs. Update 2, my parents don't like my boyfriend, so they gave me an ultimatum. Update by user mdizzle19. Original post linked here. https://www.reddit.com/r/entitledparents/s/7eggkigdr6. Hi everyone, updating you all on this long-awaited resolution. After many more hurtful texts from my parents that said they can't accept my partner and that it doesn't matter if he's a good fit for me, if he's not a good fit for my family then it's never going to work out, I went over in person to meet with them and pick up my legal documents. They made it clear that my boyfriend was not welcome and that this was a family matter they needed to speak with only me about. Clear manipulation obviously, so, I went alone. I'm on my way, I know what I think and how I feel, I'm very sure of what I plan on saying. Thanks to Reddit I have additional confirmation that I'm not crazy or wrong or a bad person, but they are in fact in the wrong. It was strange, walking into your parents' house and feeling like you're meeting strangers. Kind of felt like having a 26-year-long relationship and being broken up with via text, then having to go pick up your shit and memories from your ex's house. Except that ex is your parents. After about an hour of small talk, we got into the nitty-gritty convo about the elephant in the room. A previous text that week had said, "We don't expect to change your mind, we just want to talk," but it's clear that this in-person meeting was a last-ditch attempt to shake me from my reality and into theirs. They came at me from every angle. He's not a man's man. Dad, I don't respect him. Dad, I hate him. He's taking away the most precious thing in our life. How could you not hate someone like that? Dad, even at some point physically threatening him. My mom was either agreeing or adding little tidbits and reminders of things she doesn't like about him. Some of which are things I mentioned in my previous post about when I went to meet his family and didn't see her and my dad too. Mentioning also that she doesn't like that I made the first move to talk to my boyfriend and not the other way around. You get the gist. It was all out war on my BF. They tell me I'm depriving them of a son-in-law. They say he is selfish for not breaking up with me years ago when he realized that my parents didn't like him. They even just started blindly throwing out shots like I don't even know if he has any friends. Like WTF mom and dad, of course you don't shit about him because you've made me keep my relationship out of earshot for 6 years, but I digress. It ends up being a 3-hour-long conversation where I spoke for all of maybe 5 minutes with my heart rate at 150 the whole time. Thanks for reminding me of that Apple Watch. They also don't fail to mention a few other shining points such as, "We knew you would put this on us, this is not an ultimatum, we are just reacting to your decision and choices." Was their reply to my saying, "This is not my choice, this is an ultimatum you've given me and neither my BF or I want this. We knew you would make us the bad guys because we're not number team boyfriend's name." Any of your friends and family who say we will come around or it will get better is lying to you and saying what you want to hear. They asked me why they should like or be impressed by my BF. I told them various accolades. Dad replied with, education doesn't impress me. I told them how wonderful he was through some of the toughest times in my life, college, and how he supported and kept me sane when even my parents were coming down on me about how I wasn't doing enough. They said that's what any boyfriend would do. No, Mom and Dad, it's not, and the two of you certainly were making me feel worse that entire time. They said because my BF's dad helped him get through school by paying his tuition that he's had everything in his life handed to him. Dad said, I think your mom is having an epiphany about who you're becoming. Like I'm some monster. They said we feel like you're not listening to us because I'm not just blindly agreeing to break up with my BF. At the end, I have to break the news that in between all of the hurtful texts and prior to this meeting, my BF and I signed a lease and moved in together. Nothing they were going to say was going to sway me otherwise, even they said that. So we had taken the leap and made the move the weekend before this meeting. I was commuting about 20 to 30 minutes before the move, and my commute is the same after the move. Only difference is we now live in the same city that my BF, new attorney with crazy early and late hours, works in. Believe me, I had all kinds of requirements prior to this move. It has to be safe, have an unit washer and dryer, safe parking, etc. And it's only for a year or two while we save dollars so we can buy a home. Contrary to my parents' belief, I'm capable of rational decisions. I tell them first that we signed the lease and where it is, to try and lighten the blow that I am outright disobeying them. They start going off about how, oh of course, making it easy on him again. They saw me always going to my BF's house as me catering to him, even though the only reason was because we were never comfortable being together at their house, then of course he became essentially banished. So they see this move as me being some smitten teenaged idiot, not about how this is a relationship with compromise. They tell me that my commute is going to be brutal and that I'm lying to myself if I think it's not. Again, I have already been doing it for a week. I know it's not any worse, it's a prettier drive even. But it's clear that I can't slowly ease into it and I have to just rip off the band-aid because they are straight up just wrong and trying to convince me that I don't know what I'm talking about. So I say, I've already been doing IT for a week. We moved in last weekend. They are just dumbfounded. LOL. Like I thought you guys said you weren't planning on changing my mind, so why so surprised that I just went ahead and made my choice? My mom starts crying. My dad keeps saying you fucked up kid. It's about 10 p.m. at this point, so now that they know I have a slightly longer drive home they are kind of sweeping me out the door so I can get home before it gets too much later. My mom gives me this big sobbing hug. At this point I've run out of tears. I was crying throughout the entire conversation but at this point was just over the bullshit. My dad, who rarely even tells me that he loves me, gives me this awkward desperate hug too that just kind of makes me roll my eyes. I get in the car and drive home just totally exhausted and confused. Truthfully, they did a good job of again, making me question my own thoughts and choices. But I get home and just start spilling everything that they said to my BF. He's not surprised, but as I said in my last post, he remains Swiss in all of this and doesn't say anything shitty about them. He just holds me close and lets me vent. Something else that came up during our lovely 3-hour discussion was my anxiety. I have previously shared with them that I think they are a huge source of it and had been throughout my childhood as well. Prior discussions have always gone nowhere. You had it so easy, we don't ask that much of you, etc. Clearly not listening to me. So I brought it up again in this discussion, how my parents are a huge source of anxiety and my BF is a calm rock in all of it, that I'm so grateful he's such a great partner. My dad screams at me how he never laid a **ing hand on me and how he was physically disciplined as a child and that he can't own that he and they could have anything to do with my being an anxious person. He even says you need fucking therapy. Like, yes dad, thank you, I sure do, and also F you. Also said I have a hard time swallowing that I had anything to do with your anxiety, you're going to have to work out those demons with yourself. All of this to say, the answer you've all waited for is that I moved in with my BF, am keeping mom and dad at arm's length, and also I have started therapy. It's 26 years of emotional abuse and narcissism to unpack and learn from, but I'm working through it. The guilt tripping and lack of boundaries is so real and has been so real for forever. I know my situation isn't as bad as others and is also worse than others, but for all of you out there in similar situations, seek therapy. It is a really good thing. There's so much behavior to unlearn and grow from. Even if you don't think it's that bad and that you're doing fine, see a therapist if you can. Your abusers have learned behavior too, they have learned how to get to you and how to manipulate you, whether it's vindictive or not. They have learned how to make you do what they want and think what they think, and then they know how to make you feel horrible about doing anything differently. Seek counsel in family and friends whose advice you trust, seek therapy, and above all trust yourself. I still get very emotional about all of this, it's still a very fresh wound. I mourn the relationship I had with my mom and the one I will never have with my dad. My health is definitely suffering at the moment from all of the stress, but I'm working on getting my mental health back and I know my body will follow. Breaking the wheel is hard and terrifying. It's like being a crate-trained puppy forever and finally being allowed to go outside, but outside is unknown. The crate is all you know, and even though you know the crate is confining and freedom is in front of you, it's all so unfamiliar, uncertain, and frightening. You know what's behind you and it's easy to want to run back to it. But no matter what is in front of you, it's better than the crate. The crate is not living for yourself, it's living for someone else. So go out and make your own life. I hope this story can help someone else out there like me who was seeking validation about their feelings and situation. Thank you again to all the Redditors who shared their thoughtful insight and advice. It truly got me through the most difficult days of my life. Internet, 1. Entitled Parents, 0. Unbelievable insensitivity ruins family get-together, by user Mersinvic test. Disclaimer, I didn't witness the main event since I only arrived later that evening, but I witnessed the fallout and my sister filled me in on the rest. The entitled parents in question are my sister's sister-in-law, a high school teacher for music and maths as well as a Catholic theologian, and her husband. The husband is a university professor from an upper-class family who strongly believes that his supreme intellect and background elevate him above the plebeians, and he makes no attempts of hiding this. As parents of an upcoming genius, they expect preferential treatment even from their family members while strictly regulating their child's contact with lesser people, such as his cousins. The poor kid is never left alone, every movement is watched, playtime is often interrupted because he shouldn't spend too much time with other children and play with intellect-developing toys by himself instead. You get the type. Now, this is what happened. We had a little get-together at my sister's place over a holiday, in part to support her brother-in-law and his girlfriend, who had lost their child about 6 weeks earlier and were just starting to re-engage with society after a period of intense grief. Since it was the first evening and everyone was just arriving, my sister and her husband had decided to just order some pizza for everyone. Because they live outside of the city limits, the pizza place wouldn't deliver and someone had to drive there and pick up the goods. My sister was still busy preparing snacks, her husband was handling the kids, his parents had just arrived after a long drive and needed some rest, the professor was above such simple tasks, and the sister-in-law had her own child to care for. But she had an idea about who could pick up the pizza. She turned towards her brother and his girlfriend, and said to them, "Hey, since you are the only ones who don't have a child, why don't you go and pick up the pizza?" Except for the children, the room went silent for a moment, then the girlfriend broke down sobbing and the brother's face turned white before he also started to cry, and the two left the room. When I arrived about an hour later, the mood in the room was icy. My sister's brother-in-law and his girlfriend had gone to their guest room and not reappeared. My sister, her husband, and his parents had had a heated exchange with the sister-in-law, who steadfastly refused to admit that she had said anything wrong. She insisted that she had merely stated a fact, that they had had enough time to grieve and it was time to get over it, and that she and my sister as actual mothers deserved support, even from those two. Meanwhile, the professor remained aloof, just watching things unfold from the sidelines after confirming that his wife's statement had been factually correct. There was also a lot of cold pizza, since my brother-in-law had handed the kids over to my sister and picked up the pizza himself, but nobody had any real appetite left. When I got up next morning, my sister told me that her brother-in-law and his girlfriend had left earlier that morning, apologizing and telling her that they couldn't spend the weekend in the presence of his sister and, in fact, didn't want to see her again for a long time. For the rest of the weekend nobody was in the mood to do much. We went for extended walks where my sister, her husband, and I formed a group while his parents had lengthy discussions with their daughter, who had become the weekend's pariah and only cemented her status with her incessant whining about her unfair treatment and lack of support for her as a mother. Other than that, we didn't do much apart from talking, watching some films, and especially ignoring her. What a fun weekend we had! At least they won't be coming to this year's family Christmas party. Entitled Mom Doesn't Want Me Seen at the Hospital, by user Pinwoywidakik7. 1 week ago I, 23F, had a bilateral tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy. This morning I woke up coughing up heavy amounts of blood. Per my discharge papers I called my aunt and he told me to come in to see him right away. See him, not go to the ER etc. Basin in hand, because I'm still coughing up blood periodically, I got a LYFT to the hospital. I get to the ENT office and check in. I notice when I get there that there is a mother there with 4 children. One is an infant she is carrying and 2 are toddlers who are being minded by a teen. I found this odd, because it's 10 a.m. on a Friday, they should be at school. The toddlers are running around being chaotic and the mom is yelling at the teen that she needs to take care of them. I'm in the waiting room for less than 5 minutes before they come to bring me back. Coughing up blood is a good way to get seen quickly. The mom goes wild and goes off at the receptionist, while standing between me and the nurse trying to bring me back. What the hell? I've been waiting for over an hour. Why does she just get to go straight back? Ma'am, you've been here for 15 minutes. She's seeing a different doctor than you. Her need is urgent, you're just here for an exam. I don't care. Can't you see how restless my kids are getting? She's an adult. She can wait. This was when the nurse went around her and pulled me in. Parents think they get a say-so over my children, by user OK_response_3123. Update, thank you everyone for the words of advice and support. I stood my ground and my kids will be spending a week with their dad. I really needed to vent and having all of this support has made me feel a lot better. Thank you so much everyone. My ex and I separated beginning of the year, and I moved into my mom's house with my 2 kids. They're both under 3. My parents do not like my ex as he hasn't helped much financially. He puts in effort on seeing the kids and talking to them. My oldest got sick and can't go to daycare for a week, so I contacted him and asked if he could watch the kids for a week. I can't miss work or I'll get fired. He said he would, no problem. The problem is when I told my mom what was going on, she thinks she gets a say-so on my kids having a relationship with their dad. My ex and I had a rocky end and that is between us and not our kids. I believe as long as he puts in effort, it's not my place to say he can't have a relationship with his kids. My parents have also offered to pay for my divorce, but only on the terms that I get his parental rights terminated. My parents don't like the guy that much, so I of course have not took that offer. The big gripe is my mom thinking she is my kid's parent, and treating me like a child and like I get no say over my children. So now it is about to be a whole argument with my mother over this and I'm standing my ground. It is just incredibly frustrating to deal with this.